Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me here. My name is Jose Rodriguez. I'm the director of Blockchain Land. We have the biggest blockchain event in Latin America. We had 13,000 people last year. We also run Talent Land, which is the biggest science, innovation, technology, and business conference in Latin America. We had 62,000 attendees this year, over 1,000 speakers, and over 20 stages. So we have been running that for over 5 years now. And well, this is my 11th year now being an entrepreneur in the Bitcoin blockchain and cryptocurrency space. So happy to answer any questions at the end or have a talk about. I've done almost everything that you have imagined doing business with all these technologies. And let me just, okay. So people ask me like what I have been doing lately. Last year we established a Guinness record of the world's largest cryptocurrency class with Binance. We actually had to do 2 attempts for that. But well, we established that Guinness World Record last year in Monterrey, Mexico, which is also a northern city here in Nuevo León. So with Binance, we did that during our event. And well, we do a lot of stuff. We have other Guinness records like robotics, the biggest robotics class in the world. We attempted the biggest mathematics class in the world, and we have over 5 Guinness records with Talent Land and also various attempts. So that is something that we have been doing during this event. Well, we also have lots of speakers, sponsors, communities, and people all around. And well, this is the official record that when we established it. This was last year, about a year ago, in October last year, during our event. So that was fun. And well, also with different governments. He's a governor of Nuevo León. Probably he's going to be a candidate for presidency. I don't know. I don't care. But well, they backed up our event. So has Jalisco. If anyone has gone to Guadalajara, Jalisco, that's where we do our event every year. It's going to be in April next year, and we're going to do it in July also in Malaga, Spain. So if any of you wish to come, very happy to have you there and have you hosted over there. And well, during this 11 years, I have been named like one of the most influential people in Latin America, in the world, in blockchain, Mexico, etc. And I'm going to talk why do they consider me that. I mean, I'm happy to be nominated and to have all these prizes, but it's mostly not because I come and talk, but I have also done different kinds of companies, communities, and mostly lots of events. I've hosted over 100 events during all this 11 years, and that's how I started, because I come from stockbrokers and also from investigation services and financial crime. So I know that financial products can be very complex for some people, and that's why they take back. So I started doing some friendly events to start bringing people in. I also was invited by Philip Kotler. This is the book that I have. It's the bestseller of marketing in the world. So they invited me to write the blockchain, NFTs, and metaverse chapter. And it's a bestseller, so I'm happy about that. If anyone wants an autograph one, I'll be selling it at the end and giving away one. Also, some stuff that I've been doing, because it's not only finance and it's not only numbers and money, is I partnered with Frida Kahlo family. And we recreated their house, and with the government of Mexico City, we did Dia de Muertos, which is a parade that we do here in Mexico, but because of COVID and because of pandemics, it couldn't be done at great scale, but we did it in the metaverse, and we had over 10,000 visitors over there. So people say that NFTs and metaverse are dead. Depends. If you like to speculate and you only see it like you're going to get rich, yes, it is. But if you do some use cases like this, you can have a lot of people come into this and see the actual parade. It's still in Decentraland and in Spatial. If someone wants to visit, you only look for Frida Kahlo Red House in Decentraland, and you'll be able to walk around. And that's Frida Kahlo's house. Everyone knows Diego's house, which is a blue house, but almost no one knows the red house, which is Frida house. That's where she has her personal collection and where her family lives. And we recreated the house, so you can go inside there and see the stories about her childhood. This is the actual house in the Decentraland, so it's replicated one-to-one. So, and this is where the parade was done. This is the characters that you have in the Decentraland, and well, this is the government of Mexico City when we did that. And well, also, some people used to know me because I've been the person that's been interviewed the most by Max Kaiser, who has one of the most, well, at that time he had Kaiser Report, which was one of the most seen financial programs in the world, and he has interviewed me 7 times since 2014. So if anyone wants to see any of interviews, they're mostly on YouTube. And also Ricardo Salinas Pliego, which is one of the richest men in Mexico. He invited me over to his house to interview him about Bitcoin. So if someone wants to see the interview, it's with this QR code. You can go to my YouTube channel, and there's the interview. It's about 10 minutes. He talks about everything, privacy coins, Bitcoin, other coins, blockchain technology, money, and lots of stuff. So anyone wants to see it, just look at my channel. It's Jose Pimpo, or in the QR code. And also, well, during this 11 years, something that, as I told, that I've been doing is events. So this is La BitConf. This is the Latin American Bitcoin Conference. Last year it was their 10th year doing the event. So I became friends with them in 2013 because actually one of my first companies was in Argentina. Because 10 years ago, nothing existed in Latin America and Mexico. There were only the first exchanges in Argentina, which I partnered with, and a couple exchanges in Brazil. That was everything that was in all Latin America. And mostly in the world, there was like 10 exchanges. There wasn't anything. There were just payment processors, angel investors, and some exchanges. So when I partnered with that Argentinian exchange, I became friends with the La BitConf people. If you haven't been to Argentina, you have to go and see, well, partly the mess that they've done with their currency, but also the adoption and also development that they have. It's one of the countries that have most developers and most people working outside their country in this space. And actually, they've had more. They have more companies still since then and until now than Mexico. So we did La BitConf 2015 here in Mexico. And well, also I had the opportunity to meet, it wasn't the first time, I met Andreas the first time in 2014, but he's one of the persons that I most admire inside this space, and that he knows, although he can be very technical, he knows very well how to explain things in a non-technical way. So I had also the honor of being one of the translators in his book, in the Mastering Bitcoin. So if anyone reads it in Spanish, you'll see me there. So also very happy to help, and also that he came to Mexico, and he has mostly come to all Latin American countries to help people. And well, my last company, the one that I started some months ago, it's ATM company. I did a deal with with the biggest constructor and administrator of malls in Mexico. So they have 16 malls all over the country. They have one of the biggest malls, which receives 2 million people per month. And well, right now I've started putting my ATMs inside there. It's in Mexico City right now. It's called Forum Buenavista, Paseo Arcos Bosques, Paseo Interlomas, which is one of the biggest malls, also the one in the Senate. And we just had this in this place in Polanco, which is a nice zone in Mexico, called Vision Studios, which is like a influencer house where they go to help them go to the next step. So lots of people go there also. Oh, what happened? Okay. And well, although I have tried to keep away from politics, if we don't push it, I mean, they're gonna continue doing nothing or doing bad regulations. So I've been in the Senate, in the Cámara de Diputados, many times I have the ATM over there, and I have been pushing with different senators to create friendly laws because it doesn't exist. Actually, Bitso, which is one of the biggest exchange in which I also started, they're no longer in Mexico, though they're a Mexican company. They are in Gibraltar. Why? Because there's no regulation, so it's no longer like a truly Mexican company because there's no regulation. So those are the things that we are pushing. This is Senator Indira Kempis, which is one of the few that are pushing this. I have been working with her during the last 3 years, and last year we did 8 regulation changes to the Mexican law, to the Mexican central bank law, to educational law, and different stuff that still need to be discussed, but it's a first step towards having all these different regulations. And well, different times that I've been in the Senate and, well, to discuss all of this. And why did I start also doing this? Because in Mexico, when I started, there was 2013, there was 2014, the first thing that the central bank tried to do and is still trying to do is close down every company. So we have to fight back, and fighting back was part of it going into the central bank, but also doing it through the law and through politicians. In 2018, they did a very aggressive plan to shut down all the industry, and it was through Senator Indira Kempis that we were able to kick that back and to cancel that law that it was with immediate effect, and it was very coward of the Mexican Central Bank because they published it in the 24th of December, Monday, when no one will know about that, but people inside the central bank that weren't happy with that started telling us. So all my Christmas, I was in the Senate trying to push this back, and we were able to do it. So that is one of the first reasons that I started. And well, after that, pushing, etc., my exchange was bought by Bitso, which is the biggest exchange in Latin America in 2015, and I became a partner and BPO over there. But at the time, as you can see, like, volume was almost nothing. 13 Bitcoins per day when Bitcoin was like $180, $200. So you cannot have a business with that operating, but well, although business wasn't that big, we had we have a vision for the future that is happening right now about that. I mean, this was nothing that we were losing money every month. And in Argentina, I learned the bad way, like we did in Mexico, what bank and central bank and government can do. They shut us down from one day to the next. They just sent letters out saying all your bank accounts are canceled and your company cannot have any bank accounts. So what did I do? That killed completely Argentinian exchange volume. We were the only exchange in Argentina with bank accounts. They closed that out. So that is why I have been pushing on regulation, although I don't love it, but I know that it's needed and to avoid these things happening again. Also, I had the opportunity to go with the government of El Salvador when they did they established it as their official currency. And that was very fun because I had met the team of President Bukele in Honduras during an event when he was a candidate. I had no idea about anything about El Salvador till that day. And when they did legal tender Bitcoin, I contacted the presidency team and asked if I could go there over to help. I was going to stay for a week, and I stayed there to live for over a year. So that was also very exciting because I got to meet with all the regulators, all the secretaries of state, presidency, their Senate, etc. And also, I tried to. We had an ATM company. We tried to do a factory over there. We had a couple of prototypes. At the end, it was very difficult to create it there because there's no technology in El Salvador, so everything needs to be imported, and it's high costs. You don't have people, etc. And something that I had been seeing since I was in stockbrokers is this. These are the biggest bankruptcies in the history of the world. And there's something curious that is happening. 1, 2, 3 of the biggest bankruptcies have just passed this year. And I mean, there isn't like that alerts like there were in 2008. So that is very curious because what what is happening right now, for example, what you see in the inflation rates in the United States that in their currency, et cetera, and the amount of money they're going to have out, this is going to get worse, much worse. And there are also some interesting things happening, and these are some use cases that I've seen traveling all over Latin America, which is, first one, if stable coins were compared to countries, they would be in the 25 biggest countries with most US dollar reserves, and not only US dollar reserves, with treasuries. So that is something very interesting that is happening. There's over $100 billion in US dollars in stable coins, and that is moving around Latin America and on the whole, on different countries, and it's becoming a payment option. Why? Because Latin American coins, most of them get devalued against the dollar. You have this high inflation, not only not right now, but for example, Argentina has been having Argentina, Venezuela, Colombia has been having 30, 40, 50, 100% inflation year after year. Mexico hasn't had that big inflation, but until 1994, it had 100, 200, 300% inflation, which you cannot plan your economy and you cannot save in that kind of currency. So that is something that is still happening, not only, mostly in Latin America, but also in other countries. So this is something that every day you have to find out how you can get out of that system, but also corrupt governments do stuff to not let people out. For example, in Argentina, it's illegal for you to change currencies. So it's a crime that you go to jail. You need to exchange it against the government, and the government gives you a special rate, which is like 50% of the black market rate. So that doesn't work either. There's a lot of restrictions for you not to go out of their currency and their country. And something that is very interesting is this. Tether is the most, USDT is the most exchanged cryptocurrencies, more than Bitcoin and Ether, almost every day. Why? Because they're not only DeFi, there's not only speculation, there are people using that as money. For example, when I go to Venezuela, Argentina, Colombia, here in Mexico, they don't want to save in their pesos. They're saving in USD. And also, most of them will never have access to a US dollar account. So what is the option and what is their way out? This. So it's also very interesting because I also dislike Tron, but it's one of the few use cases that are actually used. Something that is very, very curious is that there's more USDT in Tron than in Ethereum, for example. Ethereum is one of the biggest ones with most USDT, but it's only surpassed by Tron. So that's one of the few use cases besides gaming that I've seen in Tron that actually are being used for this. And well, and going back to this, I would like to open to some questions from the audience about mostly like anything you want to know about use cases, money, Latin America.
Okay. Hi, I was very interested in your speech, and I'm wondering, what has been your experience on Hive, and is any of this translating to being used in the Hive ecosystem?
Yeah. So I've been a user since the beginning of Hive, and it's interesting because like happened to play to earn. There were a lot of people that thought that they were gonna get rich or that this was. But if you look at it as an alternative form of not only posting but also income, there's a possibility for that. And for example, there's a big community in Venezuela of Hive people, and for them, it's not the same for anyone here as for them having $1, $2, $3, $5 extra per day. And besides having all their currency, like if you try to change $10, $20, you're gonna get a full pack of bills. Like you cannot pay with that, you cannot use it. So that is also, I mean, there's also a stable coin, and it's an alternative form of income for all of them. So, I mean, for me, this has to continue growing, not only the community, which there is in Argentina, in Venezuela, and I've seen in Colombia, the biggest in Venezuela right now, but for them to have also value content, because there's a lot of people that only try to do content to try to get an income. And that's going to work like in the short run, but it's not going to do it. Like any influencer or any people that like doing content, like you have a thematic and go through that, and if you're good on it, you should make an income. Yep.
I guess there's a lot of talk about a centralized digital dollar coming in. What do you think the implications of that are going to be? Is it going to paint to crypto in a worse way, or is it actually going to help drive us forward in a more actually decentralized way?
First of all, I mean, there are governments that are going to use it as a new monetary aggregate, but I don't think there's going to be in blockchain. It's just going to be a digital dollar that is going to be passed on in an internal ledger of the government. And although that is already happening, for example, not exactly like that, but in El Salvador. Why? Because everyone uses Chivo Wallet. Chivo Wallet, is, you have a custodian. The custodian is the government. So that is already happening. You can take it out and you can put it in your own wallet, in your external wallet. Yes, you can withdraw it, but most of the ledgers in El Salvador are already government ledgers. They can go inside and they can see that. So that is one of the big risks that can happen. I don't like CBDC because unfortunately most government officials are corrupt. And if you, for example, if you try to extract information when I was in banking, you won't probably go to jail, but at least you're gonna get fired and you're gonna get fined. If you do that in the government, nothing happens. If you have an enemy in the government, you take all the other financial information, all the banking information, and you try to find a crime to put him in jail. It not only happens in Mexico and Latin America, it even happens in the United States and in other countries. So that is one of the big risks. You're gonna have government on top of you, questioning and having all the access to all your financial information. Like, why did you buy this? Is this because you're, it's like when you use Bitcoin right now. Why do you use Bitcoin? Are you laundering money? Are you buying drugs? No, I'm using it because of different use cases. No, if you use this, you're automatically a criminal. But so that's what I don't like about CBDCs. On the other side, looking at some experiences like they've had in El Salvador and they had in Brazil, it makes a lot of people that are unbanked. You also have to take that into account. Between 40 to 80% of people in Latin America are unbanked. They don't have access to a credit. They don't have access to a savings account. They cannot transfer. They do everything on cash or through third people parties, also in Africa. So for them, yes, it would be a good solution because it's going to be their first time that they're going to have actual make transfers and make online payments and pay with something. But for the rest of the, I mean, for big transactions, I would never use that. For sensitive transactions, I would never use that. Anything that the government has the ledger, because unfortunately, they're not going to make a good use of it. And there's a lot of impunity too with government. So that's the bad part about CBDCs. The good part is all this adoption that they'll be able to have with people. For example, in Brazil, it was a huge success. In Mexico, it was a huge failure with QR payments. Many Brazilians are now banked and using QR payments. Here in Mexico, because of badly planned changes in government, et cetera, it has been a big failure despite all their marketing, all their budget, or everything that they had. So it also depends a lot how you run it and who do you let in, because you're creating financial products. You're competing with banking. You're competing with financial systems. And you only do it with bureaucrats that have worked 10, 20, 30 years only in the government. Well, they're not going to be the best candidates to create that system, and they're making them create that system. You need people from the outside. You need advisors that are in fintech, banks, in financial institutions, regulators, et cetera. They're going to help you create the best system.
Hello. Yeah, so myself and many other people I know were interested in relocating to South America, maybe El Salvador, especially after learning about the changes to the law with regards to crypto. And then I heard Max Kaiser, for example, talking about how it was all restricted just to Bitcoin and that he told them to do that, basically, and was a bit surprised because it was sold originally that it was just crypto, but it's actually just Bitcoin. Seems a bit centralized in a way to me, but I just wondered whether you had any comments on that and whether there's any way for non-Bitcoin people to take advantage.
Yeah, at the beginning, I mean, it was Bitcoin as their currency, but they also had plans to regulate like the whole industry. Actually, if you see some leaked footage about the negotiations, there were Algorand and there were other blockchains in which they were planning to create the ledger and the wallet. So originally the plan, things that haven't happened and that secretaries of state had told us is that since year one in October, they were gonna do nationwide education programs. That is just gonna happen this year or next year. So if you don't have that, you're not going to have the adoption. On the other side, well, let's say like Max and Stacy are in the Bitcoin office and they are like running partially. So at the beginning, it was, yes, blockchain, crypto, etc. But now that they're like in charge of the approvals and like government advisors, they're not letting companies that are only Bitcoin easily come in. So there has been some friction about that. And also, you have to take into account that most people in El Salvador, including secretaries of state, 2 years ago, didn't even know what is Bitcoin and blockchain. So they also have a lot of weight on their advisors. But at the beginning, it wasn't like that. They were trying to bring the whole industry. I mean, you have companies that have opened their offices like Binance, Bitfinex, and different exchanges that not only have Bitcoin. So you have companies, so even Bitso has a company over there. So I think eventually it should change because, I mean, not even many of the companies that are operating there are only Bitcoin. And yeah, it creates friction, and also you are restricting all that you're trying to bring in investment, new companies, education, etc. You're restricting it because of those rules or regulations. So there needs to be more clarity in the process and also who can come in. But as an individual, you can go in. They still also need to change the law because if you go and immigrate over there, they're going to send you like to 5 different government offices, and you're going to have, you're not going to follow up, and the process is going to fail. So that is also something that they're trying to change and also digitalize their whole procedure.
In particular, they offered tax breaks for crypto, so that was Bitcoin only. That was the main concern.
Not yet, but that is one of the aims of Bitcoin City, for example, that you're going to have most of the taxes are not going to be charged. And then there's also special zones in El Salvador, like you have in most countries, in which you can operate certain type of companies and have some tax exemptions. But eventually that was the idea. If you invested, I think it was 3 Bitcoins, you would get your residency and you would be able to live there. But that is something that is also pending on the law and on the regulatory changes on government.
It seems that you have been working with a lot of politicians, making regulations. From your experience, do you think that those people understand, people at the top level, not advisors, those people understand what crypto is and how it works? Or do you think they are just part of a system that feels threatened and just react and want to defend itself?
Yeah, most of them don't. And for example, the secretaries of state in El Salvador were very honest, and they told most of us has never used Bitcoin in their life, but the deadline is here, and we all need to know how to use it, and we need to implement all of this and have it working by this date. So that was something good, that you see a government all aligned into one objective and actually doing it right, and they didn't even change the date that they had. That is something good, but most people in government have no idea. They only are moved, for example, with headlines of news, which most of them are like very dramatic. Like this week, like NFTs are dead, 99% of the value is gone. Well, depends, no? If you, where you are going. I mean, I use it as an investment, and I use it as a financial product, the NFTs, besides collecting them and besides doing all this metaverse stuff and whatever. But it's very interesting because most people see, for example, NFTs as just this little, I don't know, this little picture, but you can create financial products. Through NFTs, you can do DeFi, you can do insurances, you can do a lot of stuff. You can vote. Also, like if it was a proxy, not only with tokens, also with NFTs. So there's a lot of things that still need to be developed more than just speculation. But no, most of them do not understand. Most of them are not interested in understanding it. But in most countries right now, you at least see 1, 2, 3 politicians or presidential candidates starting to really not only use it as a slogan, but actually getting in, no? Going to conferences, going to all this stuff. For example, when Senator Indira first helped us with the central bank, she told me that she wanted to get into this 3 years ago. And I told her, you really want to go into this? You have to come to the events, you have to meet people, you have to travel. And she also came with us to El Salvador and took her team, and that's how we worked during these 3 years to make all these changes in law. But most people, like, there's like 800 senators and, well, politicians over there, and I think like only like 4 get it and are actual users. So there's still a long way to go here in Mexico and in most of the world.
Hello, Jose. Thank you for accepting our invitation and being here. We already talked about it, but I want to know your opinion of how Hive in Mexico and maybe in other cities or in other countries can participate in this kind of events that you are organizing.
Yeah. Well, happy to have you there. There are various ways to participate. One is as a community. You can go there as Hive community, for example, or Hive whichever country, and we accept all the communities. Like we have over 6,000 communities, not only in blockchain, but developers, business, makers, artists, etc. So one of the ways is joining as a community, and what we do is you spread the word to your community. We give you tickets. We give you a community space and for you to be at the event. The other is being a sponsor or a speaker, that you will have your booth, your speaking space, and different things that we do during, I mean, every company and community has their objectives, so we align our like sales and marketing strategy to what they need for the actual event. There are companies that say, I don't care about reaching 50,000 people, I just want to meet the 100 CEOs of the other sponsors, I just want to do a cocktail, I want to hire, so we do like a challenge to hire people. So we align that to every company and every strategy. But yeah, I mean, happy to have Hive over there as a community, as a sponsor, speakers, whatever you want. It's in April in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, and in July in Malaga, Spain.
Okay, thank you.
As we are running a little bit with our time, this might be the last question.
Perfect, thank you. Will we see Hive in some way related to any of your companies in the future? Maybe we will see Hive or HBD in any of your ATMs, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that could be explored to integrate. I mean, the problem with the ATMs is that it's closed software, so they aren't open to any cryptos.
Yeah.
It needs to, there are some restrictions. But I mean, there are complex things that have been integrated, like Bitcoin Lightning Network. So I don't think Hive should be a problem over there. And well, with the rest of my companies, for example, I was talking to Eddie in all these malls that we did the deal. It wasn't just pay a rent and have the ATM over there. the owners of the malls had gone to my event, and what they told me is, I want to do little events in the malls like every week. So there is also an opportunity for people to, what I want to do there is bring cryptocurrencies, blockchains, protocols, use cases, and share the event with them. So yeah, I'll have my event because of the ATMs, but we also have all these different communities and companies showcasing over there inside the mall with the exposure to all the people.
Thank you.
Okay, Jose.
Thank you.
Many, many things. Did you talk about the book you bring with us?
Briefly at the beginning, but well, if someone wants one of these books, it's Philip Kotler's Marketing 5.0. It's a bestseller about marketing, and I wrote, it's only in Spanish, so you're gonna have to practice your Spanish. And I wrote the blockchain, NFTs, and metaverse chapter in the book.
So,
well, thank you very much.
Thank you.